So I painted the rocks, which was the inverse selection of the sky. And at the same time, the inverse selection included the man. And I go to select to check if the selection included is saved, because I might want to load it again. So I go to load selection and take a look in the channel. That's where selections are saved, in the drop down menu, and I have man and rocks. So that makes me feel good because I saved it. So I can cancel out of that. And now I want to do one more thing to show you. If you want to put an effect on an object in Photoshop, you need to do that on a separate layer. It won't let you do it. In Illustrator, you select an object and that's just the object, and you don't have to necessarily move to another layer to do something to it. But I'm going to deselect this selection that I have up right now. So Command D or Control D if you're on the PC. And go down to the foreground. This is the foreground, right? Everything right closest to us is called the foreground. And go to your, well, you have to make a new layer. That's what I was going to tell you. In order to put an effect on an object, and this would be true if you were painting something also. Let's say you wanted to put, we're going to put a glow on a rock in the foreground, but if you watch me, you'll see that there's a lot of other effects that you can put on things. So it takes you into this area where you can put effects, but you can't simply do it if you've just selected an object. You have to do it on a separate layer. In Photoshop, it won't just let you put effects on a group of pixels. So I'm going to go to my quick selection tool and select the rock. So I make it a little bit bigger so I can move around in this rock, and I'm selecting the foreground rock. Now it's a little hard because I painted, so it's having a little bit more trouble than usual actually selecting the rock because I painted everything around it a little bit dark. So I'm actually having trouble seeing it, so with the zoom tool, I'm going to zoom in on this area so that I can make my selection the way I want. And go back up to the quick selection tool, which is my preferred tool for a lot of things these days. And kind of have to figure out where the rock is. Since I painted it dark, I'm actually having a little trouble seeing it, but you know, make as good and accurate a selection as you can. So Option changes the tool to minus, so you watch when I move around. And you can do that, or you can change the tool to minus and plus up in the toolbar. So now it's plus again, so I'm sort of bumping it. I think it goes up to here, this rock. And I don't want the shadow included, so I tend to do keyboard shortcuts, so Option. And there's my rock. I've selected it. So if you want, just because you might want to get it back again, you can go Select, Save Selection again, but call it rock. So now I have 3 saved selections. And this is the thing I wanted to show you. You have to make a new layer in order to put an effect on something. So I'm going to copy these pixels. So Command C is copy. Now it said that the selected area is empty. Why is that? Can any of you guess?
Are you on the wrong layer?
Yeah, yep, I'm on the wrong layer. So in order to select pixels, which makes you understand what the program really is more, right? You have to actually be on the layer where the pixels are. So that gives you more of an understanding of what Photoshop really is. It's pixels, basically, color, you know, pixels. So I have to go back to my layer that I was working on, and now I can copy the pixels. So Command C, and then go back to the new layer I made and do Command V, which is paste. And it pastes the rock on the new layer. And then when the pixels are on here, I'm going to put a glow on it. So you're going to see it's under Layer Styles. And layer style, and notice that the blend, you have blending options, bevel and emboss, stroke, inner shadow, inner glow, satin, color overlay, gradient overlay, et cetera, outer glow, drop shadow. So these are some things that you might want to use when you're creating a painting. But you can't put any effect unless you put the object on a new layer. So anyway, I'm going to put a outer glow on this. I'm going to pretend like it's kryptonite and radioactive. So I'm going to put, it's seen me do this demo before, so it knows I want the color green because it remembered, I guess. And anyway, that's AI for you. And I'm going to play around with that glow that I put on the rock. So you can change the opacity, you can change the amount of noise, you can change the spread, make it more, make it less, the size of it, et cetera, et cetera. You could even paint the rock by going back to the selection on the layer. I'm on the new layer here because that's how you have to put effects on pixels. But if I wanted to paint the rock green, I could go back to the other layer that I made the selection on, go select, load selection, and I go down to rock, say okay, and now I'm going to paint it with a green color. I'm going to make it a light green color. The foreground color turns green. I'm going to use a soft brush again, and I'm going to use the command mode multiply so the texture shows through, and I'm going to make it like 20% or even 15% so I don't put too much if I don't want. You know, I can paint very, very discreetly. And let's see, I think I have everything I want, and then I can just start to paint those pixels. You should be able to paint them slightly green. Is it painting or not? I'm on the right layer, have them selected. Maybe the opacity isn't even high enough. I may have something else selected somewhere, so it's not quite, let me see, command. That's odd. Well, for some strange reason, it's not letting me paint that rock. But it's really odd. I'll figure that out in a minute. Anyway, but there you saw me do it. Oh, I know why. It's paint. I have to be on the layer that I copied the rock to. I was on the wrong layer again. So make sure that you, obviously, you just saw me screw that up. I thought that the original pixels were on this layer, and they are. You know what I mean? They are on that layer, but those aren't the layers that are on, that isn't what's going to show up because I copied the rock to the top layer in order to put a glow on it. So actually, if you want it to look even weirder, you could try in modes, and I'm going to give you a handout on this. These are darken modes, these are lighten modes, these are effect modes, and then these are change the color, and I actually showed you that in the example, change the color modes. So you could do something like vivid light, and if you painted with vivid light, you might get a really interesting, look at how it turns kind of fluorescent. Yeah. So that, do you all see what I'm doing? So I colored that with vivid light, which is I happen to know because I've had students use different modes. It gives it a kind of weird radioactive look, almost like solarized look. So now I'm going to Command D, so I've deselected, and there's my painting. So this is just an introduction to Photoshop today. I'm going to save this and I'll put it into exercise 4 so that you can imitate it, and I'll try to write out some instructions also.
Okay.
I'll call it exercise 4 final, and I'll leave it as a Photoshop document so that you can see the layers, but don't anybody use it as your own. Make your own more creative, you know. You can do anything you want.